Hey there guys, I'm the Hawaiian shirt guy Naka, and I play video games. Over the last few years, one of my favorite franchises has been the Assassin's Creed series. I've always been a fan of any medium that can make its world believable, and there's something in this series that has just done it for me that not a lot of other franchises have managed to capture over the years. The series has been going strong now for over 11 years, spanning many different consoles, time periods, and assassins. With the latest release at the time of this video being Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I thought now would be the perfect time to go back and look at the series and see how the story and gameplay have evolved. For this retrospective, I'm only going to be focusing on the mainline series, but talking about the spin-offs, comic books, and films here and there in between. Also, don't always expect to see these games back to back, because as much as I do love this series, I don't want to get burned out halfway through and make a video suffer for it. So without further ado, let's take a look at the beginning with Assassin's Creed 1. I know I got the game upside down, but I'm keeping that take. Believe it or not, Assassin's Creed wasn't going to start as a new IP from Ubisoft. Originally, after the development of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, another game in the series was in the works for next-gen systems. However, as specs of the newer hardware were revealed over the next few years, it quickly expanded into something even bigger than before, being changed to Prince of Persia Assassin, before later being changed to Assassin's Creed. The story for the game was going to be based off Vladimir Bartol's book The Alumat, and historical figures like Hassan-i-Sabbah, creator of the Assassin Order back during the 11th century. Assassin's Creed was first shown off during E3 2006, where it won several awards during the show and lots of general praise for the look of the game. Then, 1 year later, the first game in the series was released for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and later to PC. I'm going to be looking at the PS3 version because it's the one I've owned ever since the game came out. I do recommend though that if you play this game, get it on PC. During my recording process, I had some frame rate issues that the PC version rarely seems to have, as well as having a few more missions. Be warned, I will be spoiling the story for these games as we go through them to see how it progresses with each entry. The game starts by showing some sort of simulation bugging out, before being brought out of a machine called the Animus. The Animus is a device that allows a person to see the life of a past ancestor and experience their lives during a certain point in history. It's here where we first meet our main character and protagonist for the first part of the series, Desmond Miles, a bartender but former assassin. Desmond is pretty much a cardboard box. He doesn't really emote enough, but I feel that may have been intentional so that he may feel like a normal guy to the player.
Information? I'm a bartender, for Christ's sakes! What do you want me to do, teach you how to mix a martini?
It also helps that Desmond's voice actor is Nolan North, who always does such a good job at bringing characters to life, and I feel he was a really good fit for the role. He finds out that he's been kidnapped by Abstergo Industries, a giant corporation invested into many different types of divisions ranging from entertainment, historical research, and pharmaceuticals. Almost sounds like a form of Disney in this day and age. Desmond has been decided to be used as part of the Animus Project, headed by Dr. Warren Vidic and his assistant Lucy Stillman. They're wanting to use him to find an ancient artifact called the Apple of Eden. Seeing as how he can comply or be killed, he agrees to help them in the research by reliving the life of his ancestor, Altair ibn La-Ahad. We're then thrown into a tutorial sequence that feels like it goes on way longer than it does. I get the game controls were very new at the time, but it feels so sluggish when you have to be stopped every 5 seconds after completing an objective. Finally, we get to see the assassins through Altair's perspective. He's been sent on a mission to find the Apple of Eden underneath Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem with the help of 2 more assassins, Malik and his brother. On their way to find it though, Altair takes the life of an innocent, which goes against one of the 3 tenets of the Assassin's Creed. 1. Never harm an innocent. 2. Stay hidden by hiding in plain sight. And 3. Never compromise the Brotherhood. After finding the apple, we're introduced to one of the main antagonists, Robert de Sab, leader of the Templar Knights. Altair decides now is the perfect time to kill him, seeing as how he's one of the Brotherhood's main targets. By how, you ask? Standing in front of him and declaring, "I'll harm you!" and fails. Look, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like Altair that much in this game. He's an asshole in the beginning and does grow somewhat as a character, but it's his delivery. He sounds like an edgy teenager who discovered fanfiction.net after beating Shadow the Hedgehog once and watched 5 episodes of Akame ga Kill all in the same day.
It matters not how we complete our task, only that it's done.
But this is not the way
My way is better. Robert de Sab, his life is mine. I am your superior, in both title and ability. You should know better than to question me.
And what is it you want?
Blood.
I I get that Altair is a fan favorite in the Assassin's Creed franchise, but I feel that has more to do with how his character is portrayed in Assassin's Creed Revelations, where he's much older and showing his evolved character over a number of years. The funny thing is though, I do like Philip Shabazz as the original voice of Altair. I just feel the voice direction is misguided in this entry. After being thrown out by the Templars, Altair returns to Masab to inform Al-Mulaim, the leader of the Brotherhood, that he has failed. Al-Mulaim is one of my favorite characters in this game. I think it really helps that his voice actor, Peter Renaday, does such a good job at portraying someone who's been through this lifestyle for many years and really brings that to life with his performance.
I send you, my best man, to complete a mission more important than any that has come before. And you return to me with nothing but apologies and excuses.
It then turns out Malik survived and managed to escape from Robert with the Piece of Eden in hand, but lost his brother in the process and was not able to escape his pursuers. Knowing that Massif is in danger, Al-Mulaim sends out all the assassins to protect the villagers and will deal with Altair later. This is when we're introduced to combat, and man, I feel so divisive on this, which I'll get into a bit later. After dealing with the foot soldiers, Al-Mulaim calls back the assassins saying he has a plan to end this battle quickly. Robert is ready to end the assassins and demands the Apple of Eden back. And Al-Mulaim's just like, no! He then instructs the assassins to show them what it means not to fear death and jump. It's here where we're introduced to one of the most iconic things in the series, the Leap of Faith. A Leap of Faith allows you to jump from a very high point into usually a pile of hay, and looks awesome. I really do love this mechanic. It's just so majestic jumping and seeing your character landing softly on the hard ground. After surviving the fall, Altair makes his way to some logs stored in a tower and cuts them loose, sending them hurtling towards the enemy soldiers. Robert issues a retreat and the assassins prevail victorious. Altair is then summoned in front of the Brotherhood, reminded of his dumb mistakes, and then executed. I think now is also a good time to talk about the cutscenes in the game. Assassin's Creed doesn't have cinematic cutscenes, rather that you get to see the scenes play out and move around during them. This can make cutscenes feel very bland and emotionless at times, but I think in this game's case it benefits from it. You are playing as Desmond, who is playing as Altair, and seeing the past through his perspective. It makes sense that there wouldn't be 5 different camera angles tracking characters moving around during these scenes, and really put you into his shoes. During these scenes, you'll see a glitch happen, and by pressing the X button, a cinematic angle of the cutscene will play. This is the only game in the series that does this, which is a little odd, but kinda neat. After being killed, Desmond wakes up and is pulled out of the Animus due to his vitals fluctuating. He's then sent back to his room to sleep and prepare for the next day. Back in the past, Al-Mulaim reveals to a living Altair what he showed him was an illusion, and that he must now start at the bottom level of the Brotherhood. He gives him 9 targets to kill across the Holy Land, and only then can he restore his rank. This is where the game truly begins. You'll travel to one of 3 cities, Damascus, Acre, and Jerusalem, meet with the Assassin's Bureau, gather information about your target and section of the city you are in, then devise a plan of action and assassinate your target. This kind of approach reminds me a lot of Mega Man. You'll pick your targets that are available in the memory block that you're playing, defeat them in any order you want, and then get taken back to Masaf with a new upgrade. You'll mainly use 4 types of weapons. The iconic Hidden Blade, which is great for stealth kills and assassinations, a long sword and dagger to fight enemies, throwing knives which can be used to take out targets from a distance, and your good old fists, used mainly for interrogations. Out of all of these, the dagger is my favorite. It just looks so cool performing a finisher move with it in battle. You also have Eagle Vision, that allows you to see if there are any important objects in your vicinity. It's really not that useful in this game because you have to stand completely still in order to see anything. It does help that what gets highlighted stays like that even if you exit it for a brief time. For walking among the crowd, you'll do one of 2 things, Blend and Gentle Push. Blend allows you to move undetected no matter where you are for the most part, while Gentle Push allows you to walk through a big crowd without raising awareness. Along the way, you'll battle and escape guards, climb viewpoints, collect flags, perform assassinations, pickpocket letters, and eavesdrop on conversations. And that's it. This is where Assassin's Creed really suffers in my opinion. You repeat so many of these missions for every target in the game and it gets monotonous. I typically don't mind if a game has a slow start or section as long as I feel like I'm making progress. But when it's the entire game, that feeling just doesn't go away. It's not required to finish each mission just enough to unlock the target. The easiest and only ones I recommend you do are eavesdropping and pickpocket. Both of these are quick and easy to perform and help move the game along faster. Informants are the absolute worst. There are only 2 types of missions these guys give, and that's flag capturing or assassination contracts. Capturing the flags isn't too bad most most of the time just dull. Contracts though are infuriating because you can't be discovered whatsoever. I get it, the game wants you to be anonymous and hide in plain sight. It doesn't help that the blend button makes you move so freaking slow and doesn't really make me feel that hidden. Sometimes NPCs who are crazy can push you into a guard and make them alerted, which is horrible design, going against blending as one of the crowd. I get it's supposed to be an enemy that imposes a challenge on you, but there's no way to deal with them without bringing attention to yourself. Moving across rooftops isn't advised later in the game because archers will constantly get you spotted during these missions. You see this icon in the top left? That's your alert status. When it's yellow, it means guards aren't looking at you when you're in their sight, but if it's red and they see you running or climbing, they'll chase you, making yourself known. Look here, I've just finished a contract and I'm walking back to the informant, not doing any actions that would alert the guards, and oop, there they go, mission failed. And God, that beeping. Until you lose a guard, it doesn't stop. You'll have to hide in many different spots or get out of sight, but even if there aren't any guards that can possibly see you, it will still go off. It's better to fight them than it is to run away. Combat works by locking on a target and pressing the square button rhythmically to deal damage. The problem is that the enemy AI can either be rock stupid or annoyingly frustrating. Sometimes they won't even attack at all, allowing you to mow them down, or they'll counter everything you do and deal damage back to you. It's better to have them attack than counter because most of the time it kills them in one hit, which can make combat drag. Let's talk about the control for a second. Assassin's Creed really loves parkour. The way you move, climb, and jump can really feel exciting at times. The problem is that the level design does not compensate for it. Look here, in the very beginning of the game, I'm trying to climb this thing and I just fall off because the game wants you to be super precise with your parkour, and that ends up making it worse in a lot of cases. There are plenty of times when it works, but more often than not, I found myself falling more than flying. If there's one thing that deserves praise, it's gotta be the sound design. This game sounds amazing. The way you move across rooftops, the way that metal sounds when they cling together in a sword fight, or just tearing the flesh open of a guard, it all sounds realistic. I can't say the same thing for the NPCs though. Some voices are just meh or out of place.
What's the trouble?
Archers. He's got them all over the fortress. And no easy way to reach them. They'd pick us off before we'd made it 10 feet inside.
But the Templars sound actually pretty good, and some of them really like to ham up their performance, which I totally don't mind.
Let God's judgment be brought down upon them all!
Okay, so I know I said earlier in the video that I was going to be spoiling the game. This is the mega spoiler warning. If you don't want the ending spoiled, click this point in the video. I don't know why I'm rhyming like this. But anyway, yeah, like I said, spoiler, the ending. Click here if you don't want to be spoiled. Alright? 3, 2, 1. As you murder, fight, and assassinate each Templar, you'll occasionally wake up as Desmond and be told some exposition of what's going on in the real world. After a while, Lucy reveals that Abstergo is now the modern-day Templars, and that they are still fighting the assassins to this day. The Templars are wanting to control and create a new world order, basically saying that humankind cannot think for themselves and it must be controlled through any means necessary. The assassins, on the other hand, follow the saying, nothing is true, everything is permitted, meaning everything that can be learned should not be taken as fact because times change of what is considered fact and true, while everything should be tried to be learned and used in a way to better mankind. This saying is something I see in a lot of different stories, but the way Assassin's Creed handles it though is unique to me. You have these two sides fighting for the same thing, the best of humankind, just different ways of going about it. I love stuff like this when it's written well, and while later games in the series seem to have forgotten this, I feel Assassin's Creed 1 gets it right. After killing 8 of the targets, Al-Mulaim says the time has come for Robert to die and sends Altair to Jerusalem for the final job. After sneaking into a funeral, he finds Robert attending to show the Templars mean no harm to the people. Robert then turns the people on the assassins and sends in guards to finally kill Altair. Altair gives chase to land the final blow on Robert, but is tricked into finding out it's a woman. She tells him that he has gone to see King Richard to say that the assassins must be destroyed for the sake of the Holy Land with the help of King Salahadin. Altair has no time to return to Mossab to inform the Brotherhood of the incoming threat, but Malik turns turns out to be the leader of the Brotherhood in Jerusalem and tells him that he has learned nothing over the last few weeks while dealing with these targets. Altair tells him he must do this because he feels Al-Mulaim has not told him the full story, and that if he doesn't believe him, he should go into town and listen among the people of what the Templars are truly planning. This is where I think Altair's character is truly tested. He's been on a tight leash this entire game due to his actions and must now break free of his chains and do something to protect the Brotherhood so that they can continue to help the people. After cutting through the battlefield, Altair reaches King Richards and tells him that he has been betrayed by Robert. Robert comes forth to say that he's lying and that he must not be trusted since he is an assassin. King Richards says that he cannot judge who is right in this decision and that whoever kills who is the one that God sides with. After a pretty annoying fight with Robert and his men, in which I got Robert stuck behind King Richards in a guard and thought I'd soft locked the game, Altair finally kills Robert. Before dying, Robert reveals that Altair has been tricked and that the one who fooled him was none other than Al-Mulaim himself. This is one of my favorite moments in the game. Throughout the entire journey, Al-Mulaim has been seen as someone who was the true leader of the Brotherhood and its creed, but it turns out he's been with the Templars the entire time and wanted to keep the Apple of Eden all for himself. Altair returns to Massive only to find it nearly abandoned and asks the villagers what's going on. They seem like they're in a trance, as if someone is calling to them.
He is the light. He is the way.
This is one of the most unsettling parts of the entire series. Throughout the entire journey, you've been returning to Massive after killing each Templar, leaving without giving it much thought. But the moment you return, it's been flipped on its head. It's a really nice twist that builds up the climax of the game. After nearly reaching the fortress, Altair then finds himself being attacked by his fellow assassins. He gets completely surrounded before Malik shows up with his own assassins and helps him even the odds. He informs him he found Robert's journal detailing every part of the plan to find the Apple of Eden. Malik tells him to leave the assassins to him so that he can go deal with the master. Altair reaches the fortress and finds the rest of the villagers inside. After reaching the gardens, Al-Mulaim reveals himself holding the Apple of Eden and trapping Altair, saying that the world will be under his control in the new world. And it's here where we get one of the best fights in the series. I mean that too. For everything I've complained throughout the entire game, I really do love this boss fight. The music and simulation glitching out really helps push the severity of the situation and Al-Mulaim's power. It reminds me a lot of the final boss in Metal Gear Solid 3, having to take down the person who's taught you everything you know. Altair lands the fatal blow, killing Al-Mulaim. Before passing, he tells Altair he doesn't believe he can destroy the apple, for its power is too tempting for others. Altair retrieves the apple and it shows him an image that looks like a map. It's a map that contains the locations of other pieces of Eden before cutting back to Desmond. Abstergo, finally having what they really wanted, informed Vidic that Desmond is no longer useful to them and to kill him. Lucy stops them by saying that he could still be useful by showing if there are any traps waiting for them. The Templars agree and leave. Lucy tells Desmond that he must continue to live and that there are allies around him, showing that she too is an assassin. Desmond tries to get up but feels weird. He soon realizes he can see weird markings on the floors and walls. After returning to his room, he looks at the wall above his bed and sees a message completely written in blood, ending Assassin's Creed 1.
Oh my god. It looks like... Is that blood? The hell were they keeping here before me? And what happened to him? What does it mean, I wonder?
That was a pretty nice surprise at the end of the game. Back before the series had such a massive lore, this was a very big discussion piece back in 2007. It was nowhere near as big as something, say, like the ending of Kingdom Hearts 2, but it had a lot of people discussing what these messages meant, trying to decipher every little piece of it. And you know, that is something I kind of miss nowadays in games, is that we have these like secret messages that people try to decode, and then, you know, it gets answered later on, but, you know, before YouTube had an analysis video for like every single thing, this was really cool to talk about. But it did get answered in later games, which we'll go into as we continue in the retrospective. So yeah, that's pretty much the first game in a nutshell. So what are my final thoughts? There is a lot of good stuff in this game. I feel that when the parkour works, it's fun to travel around in, but the level design doesn't usually compensate for your movement, leading to a lot of frustrating moments. Not knowing anything about the series makes experiencing the story a lot of fun, and makes me excited to see what happens next. The graphics look great for the time across all versions, but the color palette just bores the crap out of me. I feel this may have been done in order to make the game feel more mature with its tone, but it comes off as cold and lifeless. There were a lot of games that had this problem back in the late 2000s, and I will say Assassin's Creed doesn't do it the worst compared to other games. Sometimes this actually plays to its benefit, depending on the situation. The biggest problem is the gameplay. It's slow,
dull, repetitive, and most of all, boring. I know that with the first entry to a series that there's going to be some hiccups here and there, but at the same time, I think it's important to bring up these issues so that when someone plays a later game in the series, you can appreciate the improvements made a lot more. Assassin's Creed 1 is a game I can't recommend as a starting point. While the story may be interesting, I think people would get bored of its gameplay because of the repetition. Unless you are a major fan of the series, or just that curious to see how the first entry compares to the rest of the games, don't play this one. You're much better off starting with 2 and watching a cutscene compilation on YouTube or reading a story synopsis.
Assassin's Creed was the start of one of Ubisoft's biggest franchises, that is no doubt. However, I feel this game in particular is the worst in the entire series. It's boring, it's repetitive, and it's just not really that much fun to play anymore for me. During this review, I had way more fun learning about the development of this game, all the different types of stories that went into how the game was going to be structured, and it just unfortunately falls flat in too many areas to really make this even a good game. And if there's one game in the entire series I feel that needs to be remastered, it's this one. Using the modern gameplay that it is in Origins and Odyssey, I feel this game in particular could really benefit from it. So yeah, I'm probably never touching this piece of shit ever again. So next time on the Retrospective, we're taking a look at what, in my opinion, made Assassin's Creed its impact upon the gaming industry, and that is going to be Assassin's Creed 2. I'll see you guys then.